What up, world? R.I.C.H coming right back at you. Two young black men went out with people they trusted. Both ended up dead near water. And in both cases, the biggest question is why the people around them felt like hiding evidence was more important than telling the truth.
You mentioned earlier there are some contradictions.
Yes.
What gives you confidence or perhaps concern about the investigation so far?
Well, the fact that they continue to tell the family that we don't see any evidence of any foul play, even though you have students who recorded an altercation while they were on the boats of argument where you had Nolan and somebody yelling at one another on the boat. So that's an issue. And then you have the young lady make a statement and she says, well, Nolan and I finished talking and Nolan said he was going back to the boat. And then the boys on the boat said, no, Nolan told them he was going to stay with her. And so they are conflicting. She's saying he went and got on the boat. They saying he didn't get on the boat. So which is it? And all we know is Nolan is dead.
This is why people are so divided over the Nolan Wells case. On one side, you have authorities trying to move carefully and make sure the investigation is thorough. On the other side, you have a family looking at the details and saying this just don't sound right. And I understand why they feel that way. Nolan Wells didn't go to Horn Island by himself. He went with friends. Those friends came back. He did not. His phone came back. His keys came back. But Nolan was found days later near the water. That alone is enough to make a family say, hold up, somebody needs to explain every minute of this. Because when a young man leaves with a group and don't come home with that same group, the answer cannot be rushed. It cannot be casual. It cannot be he chose to stay and everybody just accepts that as the full timeline. That's not how grief works. That's not how trust works. And that is definitely not how a family gets peace.
He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed.
The autopsy did not give the family the clean answer they were hoping for. The independent autopsy said the cause and manner of death were undetermined. That word matters. Undetermined does not mean murder. Undetermined does not mean an accident. It means there's still not enough information to close the book. And that is why people are so frustrated. The family is not asking the public to guess. They are asking the system to stop moving like the answer is already settled. The red discoloration on the back of Nolan's head may end up being something, it may not. The missing internal structures may have a forensic explanation. But when you put those details next to the phone, the keys, the different stories, and the fact that his friends left without him, you can understand why people don't feel comfortable. That is the gap right there. The official language sounds careful. The family's questions sound urgent. And in the middle of that gap, the public starts dividing. One side says wait for the facts. The other side says these red flags are the facts we have right now.
This pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. Had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would there have been? What kind of interrogation would there have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children.
Ben Crump being involved tells you the family don't trust us to play out quietly. And whether people like Ben Crump or not, his presence usually means one thing. The family feels like local authorities are not moving with the urgency their child deserves. This is why this case becomes national. A family should not have to have a media campaign just to get basic answers. A mother should not have to stand in front of cameras and beg people to care about how her son died. A father should not have to learn how to speak like an investigator because the people with badges are moving too slow for the pain that's going on in his house. That's what makes this so heavy. Nolan was 18. He was a student athlete. He had a future. And now his family is trying to piece together his final hours from people who came home without him. That is a nightmare. And the worst part is, this is not the only family dealing with this kind of nightmare. That brings us to Daniel Erving.
Tonight, the push for answers in the death of a North Texas teen. 3 months after the body of 18-year-old Daniel Erving was found in Lake Ray Hubbard, there's been an arrest in connection with the case. Our Jayla Washington breaks down the timeline of the last few months ahead of an update from attorneys tomorrow.
Photos from over the years are some of the few things 18-year-old Daniel Erving's family has left. The body of the honor roll high school senior, who was on the swim team, according to his family, was found here in Lake Ray Hubbard nearly 3 months ago. And hand in hand since losing him, his loved ones are desperate for answers.
As a mother, I knew something had happened to my child.
On April 13, Daniel's mother says 2 males who were her son's friends picked him up from their home to go fishing. She says she couldn't reach him shortly after.
I called and texted my son multiple times, and there was no reply. I was immediately alarmed.
The next day, on April 14th, she filed a missing persons report with the Rowlett Police Department. Daniel had left behind his driver's license and money, which made her even more worried. After police put out a community alert online on April 16th, Daniel's body was found in Ray Hubbard Lake on April 17th, 4 days after he went missing. Daniel's mom says police told her they couldn't ping his phone before then because of privacy laws.
They have been met with delays instead of accountability.
Civil rights advocacy groups Next Generation Action Network and justice seekers are now working with the family and have criticized how the Rowlett Police Department has handled the case. The groups say one of the people Daniel was with before he went missing came forward after his body was found and said what happened was an accident.
Daniel left a home with somebody, went out there, Lake Ray Hubbard, with somebody, but nobody called his mother, nor called 911.
Police arrested 19-year-old Lucas Roper on July 9th, nearly 3 months after Daniel's death, and charged him with tampering with evidence with the intent to ruin it.
And even if he did drown, why did it take you 4 or 5 days to say anything? And that's what the family is so disturbed about.
The Dallas Police Department has now taken over the investigation. Rowlett Police told NBC5 it was unable to discuss details while the investigation remains open.
We are only here to ask for truth.
Jayla Washington, NBC5.
The 19-year-old arrested is no longer listed as being in jail when we checked earlier today, and there was no attorney listed for him. Civil rights groups are now asking for transparency from Dallas PD as its agency leads the investigation. The Daniels family attorney will share more on an independent investigation tomorrow morning.
Daniel's case is the same pain with a different body of water. Daniel was 18 years old, an honor roll student. His family says he was a strong swimmer. He went out with friends near Lake Ray Hubbard and never came home. The autopsy ruled his death as an accidental drowning. But the family is looking at what happened after he went underwater. And that is where the whole story starts feeling wrong. Because if your friend is in trouble in the water, you call for help. You do not run. You do not throw away your clothes. You do not get rid of his phone. You do not delete messages. That is why people are so angry. The medical examiner can say it was an accidental drowning, but the behavior around the drowning don't feel accidental to his family. And that is the same wall we keep running into. When people hide evidence, it makes the public ask what else is being hidden.
My son was an amazing son.
A grieving mother still searching for answers 3 months after her 18-year-old son, Daniel Erving, drowned in Lake Ray Hubbard.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
Dallas police have arrested 2 teens, a 16-year-old and 19-year-old Lucas Roper. They're not accused of causing Daniel's death, but of tampering with physical evidence. Investigators say this is the last place where Daniel Erving was seen alive. It's believed that he jumped off of that railroad bridge with those 2 other teens. The Dallas County Medical Examiner determined Daniel drowned and ruled his death an accident. But police say the 2 teens failed to report what happened and later discarded items belonging to Daniel. The affidavit alleges Daniel's clothes were thrown into a tree line, his cell phone was thrown into a ditch, and Roper deleted his communications with Daniel. Roper told detectives he panicked after Daniel drowned.
This is a difficult time for this family.
The Erving family attorney says they believe the evidence supports a murder charge.
Follow the facts and bring the appropriate charges, including but not limited to murder.
But attorney Jeremy Rosenthal, who is not involved in the case, says that would require proof of more than alleged cover-up.
To have a homicide case here, you would have to show that they caused the death of this individual, not just that there was a cover-up, not that there just was a guilty conscience after the fact.
For now, the criminal case centers on what police say happened after Daniel drowned.
I want justice for my son.
His mother says these arrests have not ended her fight for answers.
I want justice for Daniel.
This is where Daniel's case becomes hard to accept at face value. The people with him were not charged with taking his life. They were charged with tampering with evidence. We have to be careful not to call something murder just because the behavior looks suspicious. But we also cannot pretend suspicious behavior means nothing. If a person drowns and the people with him panic, that's one thing. But when that panic turns into hiding clothes, discarding the phone, deleting communications, the family has every right to ask what really happened. That is not conspiracy thinking. That is basic human reasoning. Because the question is not only how did Daniel end up in that water. The question is why did his friends act the way they did after he disappeared? A real friend calls for help. A real friend stays. A real friend don't treat your final moments like something that needs to be erased. And that's why both sides in these cases are touching a nerve. People are not just reacting to a death. They are reacting to what looks like abandonment after the death.
19-year-old Lucas Roper is accused of tampering with evidence in connection to the drowning death of 18-year-old Daniel Erving in Lake Ray Hubbard back in April. Erving's body was discovered on April 17th, 4 days after he is believed to have drowned. Erving had reportedly gone to the lake with Roper and a juvenile suspect to swim and go fishing. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, Roper was interviewed by detectives after Erving's body was found. Roper told police after the 3 of them had jumped into the lake from the railroad track bridge, Erving drowned and Roper panicked. Instead of calling 911, the affidavit states Roper told investigators he deleted all communication with Daniel Erving from his cell phone, adding that Roper confirmed he was aware that there would be an investigation into Daniel Erving's death, and he did not want to get into trouble, and states Roper threw Daniel Erving's clothes in the tree line as they fled the location. The juvenile suspect also told investigators he admitted he threw Daniel Erving's cell phone from the vehicle after suspect Roper told him to.
We, the family, are deeply inclined these individuals intended on no one looking for Daniel.
Erving's siblings said his young life was full of promise.
He had just begun his recruitment to the U.S. Army. He was trained with discipline. He carried himself with a purpose. He believed in building a life of service.
This has been tough on our family. Daniel was our protector, and I have nothing but good things to say about him.
This is the thread that connects Nolan Wells and Daniel Erving. Both stories started like a normal day, the kind of setting where nobody thinks a family is about to get the worst call of their life. Then both stories turned into questions about who left, who called for help, who had the phone, who deleted what, and why the people who were there did not act like friends when it mattered most. That's why the public is polarized. Some people are saying the internet is moving too fast and turning a tragedy into an accusation. Other people say the system is moving too slow when the victim is a young black man. Both concerns can exist in the same room. We should not rush to convict people without proof, but we also should not rush to accept a simple explanation when the facts around it just don't add up. That is the balance. And for black families, that balance is heavy, because history has taught us not to relax when the authorities say there's nothing to see here. To some people, that sounds like procedure. To other people, that sounds like a warning sign, because too many families have had to fight for the truth after the first official statement came out. That does not mean that every death is a cover-up. It means that the trust has been damaged by the history. And when trust is damaged, every delay feels louder. Every deleted message feels bigger. Every missing phone detail feels like a door somebody don't want to open. That's why these cases can't be handled with regular paperwork. The families need full timelines. They need digital forensics. They need every person who was present to be pressed for consistent answers. They need authorities to move like these boys' lives mattered before everybody started watching. And most of all, they need the truth, because it matters more than protecting a clean story. Because clean stories are easy. Real stories are messy. And when two young black men end up dead, the job is not to make the story clean. The job is to make the story true. So I'm gonna take y'all out like this. Nolan Wells and Daniel Erving deserve more than a quick answer. Their families deserve more than waiting, guessing, and being told to calm down while the details still don't make sense. If these were accidents, then a complete investigation should make that clear. If something else happened, then the truth should not be protected by silence, deleted messages, or people who left their friend behind. This is not about the internet solving the case. This is about a family demanding that the system do its job with urgency, transparency, and respect. Because phones can be wiped, messages can be deleted, codes can be thrown away, but a mother's question does not disappear just because somebody wants the story to be over. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.